Poor single dad helped a stranded woman, not knowing she was the judge who held his fate. The rain came down like a verdict already decided, heavy and unforgiving, soaking the cracked shoulder of a forgotten highway where one man's life felt just as stalled as the broken car beside him. In that moment, with his hands trembling from cold and worry, a poor single father made a choice that would quietly reshape his fate, without knowing that the woman stranded before him held the power to judge the rest of his life. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing what's right even when life feels unfair, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are still holding on. Michael Carter had learned how fragile stability could be. Once, he had been a construction foreman with steady work and weekend pancakes for his son, Noah. Then an accident at a job site crushed more than his leg. It crushed time, money, and trust. Bills stacked up faster than healing, and when a legal misunderstanding tied to a workplace dispute landed him in court, Michael found himself one ruling away from losing everything, including custody of his child. He now lived in a modest rental on the edge of a small town in Ohio, waking before dawn to drive for deliveries, saving every dollar, praying that effort would count for something when the judge finally looked at his case. That evening, he was driving home after a 14-hour shift, the rain blurring the world into streaks of gray. His old pickup rattled as if it shared his exhaustion. When he noticed the red SUV pulled off the road, hazard lights blinking like a quiet plea, his first instinct was to keep driving. He was late, soaked, and worried about Noah waiting with a neighbor. But then he saw her standing by the rear tire, rain flattening her hair against her face, sleeves darkened by water, hands struggling with a useless wrench. Something in that image reminded him of mornings he had stood helpless outside courtrooms, hoping someone would notice his effort. Michael pulled over. The woman's name was Rebecca Hayes, though Michael wouldn't learn it until much later. In that moment, she was simply someone stranded, frustrated, and trying not to cry as the rain soaked through her red dress, and the world offered no mercy. Michael moved carefully, favoring his injured leg, kneeling in the wet gravel to check the tire. His hands were steady despite the cold, and he worked with the quiet patience of a man who knew how to endure discomfort without complaint. He loosened the bolts, set the jack, and changed the tire while rain slid down his jacket and pooled at his boots. He didn't mention his pain or his hurry. He didn't ask who she was or where she was going. He simply helped. When the tire was secure, Michael gestured toward the road, reminding her through calm reassurance that the spare would get her to safety but not far. He refused the small bills she tried to press into his hand, shaking his head and thinking of Noah's smile when he kept his promises. He watched until her SUV pulled back onto the road, then climbed into his truck and drove away, unaware that the woman he had helped was returning from a judicial conference, unaware that her thoughts would follow him long after the rain stopped. Days later, Michael sat in a courtroom that smelled faintly of paper and old wood, his heart pounding louder than the ticking clock. He wore his only clean jacket, sleeves a little short, hands rough from work. The case had dragged on for months, and each delay had cost him more money he didn't have. He wasn't asking for sympathy. He just wanted fairness, a chance to prove he was a good father who had made mistakes, but never stopped trying. When the judge entered, Michael felt his breath catch. Rebecca Hayes took her seat behind the bench, her expression composed, eyes steady. It took a moment for recognition to flicker, like a memory surfacing through fog. Her gaze met his, and something softened there. Not favoritism, not bias, but understanding. She remembered the rain, the quiet man who had helped without knowing who she was, who had refused money because decency mattered more. The proceedings unfolded with measured formality. Evidence was reviewed, timelines clarified, and Michael's efforts documented. consistent employment despite injury, parenting classes completed, neighbors vouching for his dedication to Noah. The prosecution pressed on procedural faults and missed deadlines, painting Michael as irresponsible rather than overwhelmed. The room felt heavy with consequence, and Michael braced himself for disappointment, ready to accept whatever came because he had learned how to survive loss. But justice, when guided by humanity, has a different weight. Judge Hayes considered the facts with care, acknowledging mistakes without ignoring context. She emphasized accountability while recognizing perseverance, noting that the purpose of the law was not to crush those striving to rise, but to protect what mattered most. Her ruling granted Michael continued custody of his son, structured support to resolve the dispute, and a clear path forward instead of a dead end. The words landed softly, yet they shook Michael to his core. Relief washed over him, followed by something deeper, validation that his quiet efforts had been seen. Outside the courthouse, the sky had cleared. Sunlight broke through clouds, warming the steps where Michael stood, eyes wet not from rain this time, but gratitude. He thought of the roadside, the red SUV, the simple choice to stop. He understood then that kindness is rarely wasted, even when it seems invisible. It travels forward, waiting for the right moment to return. Life didn't become easy overnight. Michael still worked long hours, still counted pennies, still woke up sore. But there was a lightness now, a sense that the future wasn't a locked door. Noah laughed more, slept better, and believed in his father with the fierce certainty only children have. Michael enrolled in night courses to rebuild his career, carrying the memory of that rainy night like a quiet promise to himself, to keep choosing right, even when no one was watching. Judge Hayes, for her part, carried the memory too. It reminded her why she had chosen the bench, why impartiality could coexist with compassion, why the law mattered most when it served people, not paperwork. She never spoke of the roadside encounter, never crossed professional lines, but the lesson stayed with her. Character reveals itself in moments without witnesses. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change lives in ways we may never see, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps spread hope to those who need it most. Before we end, we have one special request. Please comment below with the word kindness if you believe small acts can lead to big miracles. Because somewhere, in the rain or the quiet of an ordinary day, someone is choosing whether to stop, and that choice might be the beginning of everything.